The other day, I was sitting on the couch munching on some popcorn, watching my favorite content farmer, Asmongold, when I had an epiphany. That's right, high level IQ stuff. I felt like Megamind. I've often heard Asmongold talk about how he considers most of what happens to him as content, as in it happens to Asmongold, not necessarily to Zack, as if he was the character of a sitcom. This kind of detachment does have its healthy upsides. It removes the negative emotions that can happen when a whole bunch of random people on the internet hate you for any given reason that they feel like. Anyone who reaches even a third of the level of success Asmongold has to deal with haters, and so not taking things personally can be quite beneficial, especially in what is essentially a subset of the entertainment industry. But, my dear Crumbs, a big, juicy but is that viewing everything as content or the opportunity for content can have major drawbacks as well. I'm gonna pause here a minute and state the obvious for the people in the back that might be a little bit slow. This isn't a holier than thou attempt at moralizing on Asmon. It isn't an attempt to judge him, or even dumber than that, to try to change his mind on the issue, because that sure won't happen. This video is for you, the viewer. Maybe someone who watches content on the regular, or someone who creates content. What are some of the things you could fall into if you view most events of your life, or even your own self, as content? Let's get into it. The first one's what I like to call erosion. I know, I got big words. When life is filtered through a content-driven lens, so you view everything as content, the ability to be present and genuinely experience moments is slightly diminished. Instead of savoring that experience for its own sake, the creator's mind is often preoccupied with how to frame it for an audience, what captions they might need to write or titles for the video they're going to make afterwards, or what things they should say to capitalize on the attention of the crowd. This can lead to a sense of detachment from one's own life. And I don't mean this in the original sense that we talked about before, but in terms of feeling like you're not quite yourself. It can lead to people thinking like they're not being true to themselves. After that, we got classic burnout. This happens to a lot of creators. The pressure to constantly produce engaging content from the fabric of daily life is a direct path to burnout. Creativity becomes a relentless demand rather than a natural expression, because you need to meet deadlines, you need to make videos, you need to make streams every day. This can lead to exhaustion, a decline in the quality of content, and a loss of the initial passion to spark the creative journey. It can also cause trouble in your relationships. Viewing friends, family, and partners as potential characters or props in a narrative can damage trust and intimacy. Relationships can feel transactional because they are, and loved ones can feel that their genuine moments are being commodified for public consumption because they are, leading to resentment or a lack of privacy. I think celebrities deal with on a larger scope, although I think the biggest YouTubers on the platform would probably rival their success in terms of lack of privacy. Then it gets a little bit worse, my friends, as we can have a distorted sense of self or identity crisis. And what I mean by that is the line between your true self and the online persona that you have created or that people see can become dangerously blurred. Creators can find themselves performing for their audience even in their private lives, leading to a crisis of identity. The validation that comes from likes, shares, comments can become a substitute for genuine self-esteem, making their sense of worth dependent on numbers, how well they're doing, how good their metrics are on their streams or videos. Then, of course, we have the pressure to perform. The demand for consistent engagement can lead content creators to manufacture drama. Does that sound familiar to anyone? Exaggerate emotions, or present a version of their lives that is more polished and appealing than reality. I'm sure you can come up with some examples of this. I'm not going to give you one myself. This pressure to perform can feel inauthentic and lead to disconnect with one's true feelings and experiences. And of course, all of this leads to mental health challenges. The constant self-surveillance, the fear of being judged for your actions because you're a public figure, essentially, and the pressure to maintain and engage in online presence can contribute to anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues. The curated perfection often displayed online can also lead to feelings of inadequacy when the creator's own life doesn't really measure up to the idealized image that they presented for themselves. And of course, you have the very real loss of privacy and personal boundaries. When every aspect of your life is a potential story Personal boundaries are inevitably crossed. Sharing intimate details can lead to a loss of privacy and a feeling of being constantly exposed, not to mention that people are going to take things out of context and spin it into whatever narrative they feel like. This can make it difficult to have personal experiences that are not subject to scrutiny from the public, even if it's something you said and did years ago. And of course, last but not least, we have what I want to call the monetization of the mundane. That is turning every hobby, vacation, and personal moment into an opportunity to strip these experiences of their value and turn them into a show or financial opportunity. The joy of the activity itself can be overshadowed by the need to create a marketable content around it, turning what used to be leisure and fun into work. And like everything in life, healthy balance will lead to a better outcome. While a certain level of personal attachment from your online self versus what we will call the real self, for whatever that's worth, can be a healthy way to separate yourself from negative outcomes and emotions. But leaning too much into it can leave you mentally stranded, worse than a thirsty man in the middle of the Sahara Desert. So be careful, crumbs. But what do I know? I'm just a cookie with a brain leakage. If you like the content, you know what to do. Finger blast that like and subscribe button like you're Ellen Ripley firing off against a horde of incoming aliens. I'll see you when I see you.